I'm Travis.
I'm still not Ethan.
Yep. And this is Monster Comic Reviews. And this is, I believe, I forgot to talk about in the first half of this. This is the first week of October, past all those 0 issues.
Yeah.
Another thing I forgot to mention in the last video, if I sound funny or a little out of it, I am soldiering through a pretty gnarly head cold. But I figure if James Donnelly can do it, so can I. So here I am, soldiering on. So, first we're going to talk about Earth 2, Issue 5. Great cover there of Green Lantern punching Solomon Grundy in the jaw.
You know, I must say I like this Green Lantern better than the Justice League Green Lantern.
It doesn't take a lot to be better than Hal Jordan.
I know.
Ah.
I find the Earth 2 comic to be a little cheesy, but there are parts of it I enjoy.
The whole comic? The whole comic cheesy?
No, just parts of it.
There are characters that are
Parts
cheesy.
of the whole comic.
Oh, okay.
Like I find Green Lantern to be cheesy at times. And there was something else, and you'd have to open it and actually let me look at it to find the other part that I thought was cheesy.
I think Flash is cheesy. Flash is cheesy. Him as a character is cheesy. He is so idyllic, it's ridiculous. It's like, oh, come on. So I'm hoping they play on that to some degree. It is a much more...
And he is very young.
It is a much more heroic comic than a lot of the other comics. I think what the writer's trying to do is he's trying to capture the kind of more heroic, grander, old school feel of the old Justice Society. Because this is kind of, Earth 2 is supposed to be their Justice Society replacement book. Sure. So I think that's kind of what he's trying to do. And I think he does a fine job of it. I guess I don't feel the whole comic is cheesy. There are cheesy characters in it, as the comic is kind of a throwback comic to some degree, without having bad dialogue. That's what I like about it, I guess, as a whole. It has some of that, the old school superhero feel to it, without...
But you're right, it doesn't have
without the really old school dialogue that despite the fact we all collect those old comic books and love those old comics for what they are, I think most of us would agree that we're very thankful that our heroes don't still talk that way that they talked back then and had that kind of dialogue, that now we have more realistic dialogue and more realistic situations for them to deal with and whatnot, I think. But yeah, there definitely are parts of it that you kind of go, boy, they're much more heroic. I like this Green Lantern.
Oh, I never said I didn't.
Well, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I liked the old Alan Scott, and I wasn't sure what I was going to think of the new Alan Scott. And I like the new Alan Scott. You know, I mean, he's a very... I like the fact he's a very take care of business kind of a person. I mean, it's like, look, you know, I mean, he can very quickly, it's refreshing to have a group setting and have somebody very quickly be able to go, look, I don't care what these other issues are and whatnot, here's the real serious problem and we need to take care of it. Whereas with the Justice League, they would have spent 3 comics with them all beating the hell out of each other and fighting over who was going to be in charge.
This is true.
You know, so it's like, okay, you know, despite we might have some grievances, here's this bigger problem that we really need to take care of really quickly. So I like that. I don't know, Jay Garrick, the Flash, he's, man, I don't know if I can hang out with the guy. He'd drive me crazy. He's just a little too idyllic. I love the continued introduction of old characters in different ways. The Sandman, for instance. I mean, it used to be there was just one Sandman who had the mask and had the gas.
Right.
I don't know that he could ever teleport before. I don't remember that being anything he could do. But that is my pro memory when it comes to that, because a lot of the old All-Stars and Justice Societies that I read didn't have a lot of him in it as far as that kind of stuff goes. But I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed to continue to get the little bits and pieces of stuff in there. I'm curious as to how they're going to deal with the situation they got themselves in when they got 3 tactile nukes coming in to blow up all of DC.
Yeah.
Holy cows.
That's going to be interesting.
But I think it's an interesting. I mean, you know, okay,
How do you
so
feel about Grundy being a product of the gray? Because you and I haven't talked about that, and the gray feels like the rot.
oh sure, and the and Green Lantern is a product of the Earth
The green.
with the green. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them giving us a source for their power, as long as it doesn't become the focal point. Because if it becomes the focal point, I'm gonna get tired of it really quick because there's already so much of that in of the equivalent of that in Swamp Thing and in
Animal Man.
Animal Man. But I'm like I said though, I'm okay with it because it's a different dimension, but it's kind of the same. So having something that's kind of the same is fine. It's a hook they can use. You know, if you're really interested in those things, to have them in this book. I just don't want them to become the focal point.
Right.
But telling us what their power source is, that's cool. I'm okay with that. You know, because in the case of like Green Lantern, they need to explain how where his how his ring works in comparison to the other
Sure.
lantern, and comparison to the old Alan Scott lantern, how his ring works and whatnot. So that's for me that's all great and fine. Of course, this Grundy is way more powerful than the Solomon
heck
Grundy of the
yeah.
past. I like the old Solomon Grundy better than this Solomon Grundy, just because the old Solomon Grundy was fun. But this Solomon Grundy is definitely a huge menace.
So what do you think about what's happening to Green Lantern at the end?
Oh, where he's traveled into the gray and is
And
now
being presented with the gray version of his
dead boyfriend.
lost. Yes.
He won't buy it.
Good.
I mean, they're showing him as being potentially swayed, but he strikes me as being enough of a realist. He's a pragmatic
Right.
businessman.
Yes, I.
That's how
understand.
they gave him at the very beginning. This is being a pragmatic businessman. I think that we will see that he'll go. This sounds all great, but this isn't real, and there's all this other stuff that's
Right, well,
that's important.
he's dedicating his life to, that's what he said in
Right.
previous issues, that he's, for his lost lover,
Yeah.
going to go
I think more of the issue. I think the bigger issue and the more is the what's his face that's kind of
Yeah.
the secret advisor that's taken over things and has
Yes.
launched these missiles to blow up all of Washington D.C. That'll be interesting to see how they're going to deal with that. That's the part I don't, because so far of the power people who are there, the Atom, Hawk Girl, and the Flash, none of them have the ability to
To contain or divert.
nuclear warheads. No.
Huh.
No.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting.
So I'll be curious to see how that gets answered too, more than anything. But yes, there are some cheesy parts in there. I think most of those cheesy parts come from the Flash delivering some really cheesy lines because he's all hyped up on the "we're wonders" and "isn't this what wonders do? Be good, do the right thing." He's basically the equivalent of the old Superman from the 1950s, where he's just almost saccharine in the fact that he's just
so excited.
so good, so whatever that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting. We're gonna have a lot of engineered superheroes, engineered wonders as they're calling them there.
Yeah.
But no, I like the comic. I think it's a very good, straightforward 4-color superhero comic.
Okay.
So I would give it a very strong 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a 3 is good.
Okay, next we're going to talk about Legends of the Dark Knight issue 1. Of course, I have the paper version because I don't do digital. These stories come out I want to say it's either Monday or it's Thursday that they come out, these little stories.
Oh, then they get collected.
Then they get collected, and then they get sold this way also. This was $3.99. It was 30 pages as opposed to the 20 pages
Right.
a normal thing was. 10 pages. There's 3 stories in here, 10 pages to each story. I can't remember who wrote the first story. It's got Jeff Lemire doing the artwork on it. Of course, Jeff Lemire does Sweet Tooth, where he writes and draws. Jeff Lemire also writes Justice League Dark, and was writing Frankenstein Agents of Change for a while. That was kind of a fun story.
That was fun. And the bat shark repellent, really?
No. Was that in the first one? Was that in the first story?
Yeah, I thought the first story was the one with the hero guy. Yeah, the bad guy, the robot. That's not the first. Oh no, the first one is where Alfred has him get
the first one. The first one is him saying, "I'm involved. I mean, I have no weaknesses."
That's right, because the art really is reminiscent of the Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth, right? He keeps stating, Batman keeps stating, "I have no weaknesses."
That is.
And it seems obviously it's
and
early
also
on.
One of his weaknesses appears to be that he's drinking too much.
Could be.
Another reason
No,
why.
he's faking it.
Yeah,
because he's a playboy. I just love that whole thing where he's all owly and cranky there, because it's like it's early in Batman's career. You get the impression that it's early in Batman's career because he's just decided to start running across rooftops. He's telling me the fact that he had to change his behavior, so now he's running on rooftops so he can swoop down on them. Blah blah blah. I have no weaknesses. You know why I can take out all the rest of the Justice League because they all have weaknesses. I don't have any weaknesses. Blah blah blah.
So cocky.
Oh yeah, so full of himself, and he bets Alfred $1. And Alfred's like, yeah, huh? Walks off.
Right.
You know, and then he gets suckered into the whole save the family, and the whole family beats the crap out of him. The whole family pulls out baseball bats and stuff and just wails on him and whatnot. And then Alfred comes in and tells him that's enough, and then takes his $1 out of the bat belt, and they walk off together. I liked it. It was very fun.
It was kind of a fun comeuppance kind of thing, and definitely something that Batman would learn from.
Yeah, and then the second story. Right. The second story is J. Jones, I want to say. Oh, I think that's what the artist is. Love the artist on it.
The art is really good.
Batman's up in the satellite. He hates space. He hates the satellite, and he's up there, and Amazo pops in and attacks. And he's gonna take Batman out first, because if he takes Batman out, he'll take out the non-power guy and then work his way down, kind of thing. And Batman gives him hell. You don't like the bat shark repellent thing?
It was hilarious.
Oh yeah, I know. It was all funnier than hell.
Because that's something. The only reason I know about bat shark repellent is because you were telling me about the totally, crappy cheeseball movie.
That movie's awesome.
And there's bat shark repellent in it. So the fact that he actually had some, I thought was hilarious.
He uses it because he's out in space and he's lost the teleporter button. It squeezes out of his hand, and to get to it, he has to use a spray to move him.
Yes.
So he can get
move himself.
So he can get to it, and just how he suckers, how he's figured out how to deal with Amazo is pretty awesome.
Yes.
The fact
I
is that
love the think again. That was really cool.
Right. You're messing with him by having written that in the
window
beforehand as it's happening. Yeah.
He has a lot of very good.
Yeah, he comes across as being very smart. He comes across as, this is why Batman beats so many people. It was fun. It was a fun story. And then the third story in it is about the guy who, down in his luck, he's been fired. He's got a sick daughter, and he's
planning
he works at the aquarium. He decides he's gonna go steal these exotic fish. He's planning a crime.
Of course, we don't know any of that until Batman tells him.
Right.
We're just seeing that Batman is noticing that. Oh, single credit card.
A single credit card has rented a van, purchased a shotgun, and all this stuff.
Gloves.
Right. And so they show up, Batman and Robin, snatch him out of his bedroom and basically put him on top of the building, up in this precarious place. And then proceed to tell him that, look, you're going to rob this place and it can go one of two ways.
Right.
One, you try to rob the place, we swoop in and beat the hell out of you. And now you go away, you get arrested, you go away for 5 to 10 years and you don't see your sick daughter for 5 to 10 years, she's taken away. Or two, because you were dumb and you're a nice guy and you don't really want to hurt anybody, you charge into the place with your shotgun with no bullets in it, and the guard, who's a ex-cop with a itchy trigger finger, shoots you and kills you,
and you're dead.
And then you don't have, and then your daughter doesn't have you ever, all for some fish.
Now Robin was funny in this. Because he's got the gun and the guy's acting. He's like, yeah, like I'm the one you should be afraid of right now. Do you feel like that was a very Damian-like Robin?
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was Dick.
Yeah, I really felt like it was more of a not Damian Robin.
It could have been. That's what I thought about it too when I read it.
It wasn't drawn like Damian. Damian has a certain face.
And bristly hair. And bristly hair.
Draws him with that I don't know, crankier, poutier looking face.
And bristlier hair, more of his hair's cropped short enough that it kind of
And-
stands up.
So yeah, because these can happen at any point
Right.
in time.
These are kind of just little vignette that could be happen whenever. They may not even be truly in continuity.
Well, sure.
Kind of a thing.
Anyway, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the Robin repartee. It was, yeah, it was good.
I enjoy.
So I really liked that whole comic, and I'm,
so did I.
you know, I know it's a $4 comic, but I feel like it's worth it.
But I'm getting a whole extra 10. I'm getting 10 more pages.
Exactly, like I said, worth it.
So, and it was enjoyable. I like it. I'm looking forward to the next one. I know there's some Phil Hester ones coming up. I know there's I'm pretty sure there's a Thavok. Is that how you say his name? The guy who writes I, Vampire. He's writing a story that I think
cool.
either Phil Hester's doing the artwork for or Ben Templesmith is doing the artwork for. I know Ben Templesmith's doing the artwork for one of them. Yeah, looking forward to the next.
That'll be fun, because if they get people that maybe we don't get to see their stuff,
Right.
because we don't collect Sweet Tooth,
Right.
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I think that might
Well,
be
that's,
fun
I think
for
there's gonna be a lot
Sweet
more of
Tooth
that. You're
trades.
gonna see a lot more just, people who can't commit to series and whatnot, or people whose style may not be conducive to a long run on a book. We're gonna get
On
to
a
see.
hero book.
Right. We're going to get to see, thank you, on a hero book or on Batman in particular, we're going to get to see a lot more of that. Well, I think we're going to get to see a lot of people that we'd all kind of go, man, wouldn't it be kind of cool to see so-and-so do a Batman? Boom. So we're going to see Batman. I mean, I wouldn't want to read probably a long-term version of Jeff Lemire doing the art on Batman, because his artwork isn't gorgeous by any means. It's quirky. It's quirky and stuff, but it works for a short little story. It's fun.
And it was fun, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
I give it a 4.
Yep, I give it a 4 also. A very successful book. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next ones. Next, we're going to talk about Stormwatch number 13 with Demon on there. And I think this is the first. I want to say this is the first comic of the New 52 that has the Demon in it in current timeline.
Oh, right, because that triggered
Demon Knights, that's what, 500 plus years in the past. This is current. I think this is the first.
And Etrigan is not connected with Jason Blood, and he's pretty evil.
Yeah, that's kind of curious about the Jason Blood thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not tied in.
I kind of.
Well, or
like
he
tempered.
may still be attached to Jason Blood. It's just he got trapped in his demon form and has never changed back yet. Or been forced back.
I guess we'll find out. I think it's interesting that he does the rhyming and then just gives it up at the end.
Gilliam March cover, by the way. With no women in it looking hotty-totty.
It happens sometimes.
I know. Well, he's doing the artwork on Talon now, which I haven't been getting, but so.
So, are you rating that? Are you done talking about it?
No, I'm not done talking about it.
Okay, you said it was a site, so I wasn't sure.
I didn't think I needed it in my hand to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. You want to talk about it first? Go ahead.
I enjoy the fact that I like the fact that we had. Oh crap! Midnighter, right?
Midnighter and Apollo.
And Apollo, out on a supposed,
Relaxing time.
Relaxing R&R, gone AWOL. Yes, so not.
Not with Midnighter along.
No, and also it had you're probably going to disagree with me, but the Mallory Tower, that whole thing, has a definite, it's like a place that would be in a Hellblazer comic,
oh yeah,
Justice League Dark comic.
Yeah, this is written by Peter Milligan, who does Hellblazer.
There you go. That explains it, because
it definitely had that kind of feel.
That's
his kind of a story.
And him, the kid, and the naughty words, and you know, the kid summoning Etrigan. That was interesting, but not being connected to him from what we can tell.
So the basic story behind that is there's this building, bad stuff happens in the building. There's been 3 or 4 arsonists coming out of the place. There's been serial killers coming out of the place. There's entire floors that bad stuff happened to.
Animal torture.
Nobody knows why. This building's always had really horrible things happening.
And before that, it was an asylum.
There was a sand asylum had been built there.
And before that, it was something else, some other
horrible thing. Right. And there's a kid in it that his parents basically kill each other.
Yeah.
While he's scribbling away with crayons on the walls and whatnot, saying that he has to keep writing because if he doesn't keep drawing pictures, he'll say these naughty words.
And he
Pretty
runs
soon,
out of
he runs out of
crayons.
crayons, so he uses his parents' blood, and pretty soon he runs out of that, and then he says the naughty words, and
Well, that's the summoning spell for Etrigan.
yeah, who's been buried below the foundation.
So there you go. Now
In the
we all know
stratosphere.
why
The place
why
has been
it's
crazy because everything's been built on top of Etrigan,
who's been invading
who's
people's
been
dreams
basically,
looking.
yeah, he's mentally been working the place over, hoping to get somebody to bust him out. And finally, he finds a weak enough boy to get him busted out. And of course, he busts out. And meanwhile, Midnighter, this is an area of town that he has hung out in quite a bit because
Yeah, he used to patrol there as an officer.
because the crime there is so over the top. Everybody is so extra agitated and whatnot. And of course, when he does his R&R, that's where he takes Apollo. So they go there at the very end of this. Of course, they fight a little bit with Demon. Demon swats Midnighter like nothing, of course,
Right.
and looks pretty bad for them.
Asks Apollo if he's next.
Yeah, and obviously I don't mind this. I'm not complaining, but obviously either Apollo and Midnight are either fan favorites or writer favorites because the stories tend to
Then
focus around
there
them.
are some, meanwhile, back on the Stormwatch.
Right. They have a little bit of her name isn't Jenny Sparks. Is it?
The Millennia Baby. I think it might be. Anyway, whatever her name
No,
is.
that was the last Millennium Baby was Sparks.
Okay, well, whoever she is.
Quantum, whatever, something quantum has to be.
And so it's her and
Hawkmoon. The guy who talks to cities.
okay.
His last name is Hawkmoon. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Jack,
Yes. And then
engineer.
the engineer. And then we also have a little piece of Tanner, is that his name? The bad guy.
The swordsman.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
who's-
swordsman. Who's sneaking his way back into
Is he going through that horn that's just a horn?
could be.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
That's got that. He's secretly teleporting himself back onto Stormwatch in some way.
And I love how the woman that he kidnapped, that they're supposedly madly in love with each other now. They both
They're not.
talk about each other in horrible ways. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure now that he's gone if she's, if she's got it in for Stormwatch as well, or if she's going to turn on him because he calls her a treacherous minx. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
That'll be
with
interesting.
that.
Now, this comic, they successfully touched on the stuff that happened in the Zero issue, which I thought was really good. Our little quantum child is really concerned with...
Sorry.
You aren't very disembodied when we can see your forehead. Anyway,
Ignore the man behind
I'm the curtain, yes. Thank you, Wizard of Oz. We get her commenting on the fact that she wants to know why anybody would hang out with Stormwatch when they're all going to die. She's still hung up on the whole thing, being told that
Right.
with Adam having come back and told her that they're all gonna. This is the last of Stormwatch. That this is gonna be something bad's gonna happen to her. So she's still kind of hung up on that and whatnot. So that's kind of interesting as a secondary
Yeah, it's one of
plot
the
B.
few
That's
times where they have done that, where
Yeah.
13 has had anything to do with issue 0, really.
yeah. So it'll be interesting. I'm liking the comic. I like the comic more and more all the time.
Yeah.
I actually like it better now, I think, because they cropped it down. There are less people on the team, with Martian Manhunter being out and whatnot. So
to try and keep track of.
right.
And there aren't two
Right.
men who look almost exactly alike to me. So Tanner and the original leader that gets kind
Adam,
of
I guess.
the two of them kind of looked, they both had like mustaches and longish hair, so
Sure. Okay.
but it's just me, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. I like this introduction of Demon and whatnot. It'll be cool to see how they deal with that. If they bring down the rest of Stormwatch to deal with it, or how they're going to deal with it. But it'll be interesting. What would you rate this book?
I give it a 4. I give it a 4 because I give Stormwatch steadily moving from what was a 3 book to me towards being a 4 book for me. Or maybe I'm just getting interested in the characters more as I've gotten to know them.
Could be. I will give it a very strong 3-week 4.
Okay.
Okay, next we're going to talk about Swamp Thing issue 13.
And we're back in the rot.
Back to talking about Animal Man. No. A lot of people comment on the fact that these are basically kind of the same book, and they are to a large degree. obviously you're dealing with two different slices because the two characters have been separated now and have to deal with their own things and whatnot. I don't know that I like one book more than the other book. I think there's more to this one than the other one. I'm back to the same thing I was saying about Animal Man, in the fact that I'm almost more curious about how this book goes forward once they figure out how to deal with this. I mean, what's afterwards?
Yeah, because this, for both of them, seems like such
You know,
a huge.
Abigail dies in this one. We know
Yeah.
that she dies in this one, but they don't tell him that. Of course, it looks
Right.
like he's about ready to go down too, as he's being overwhelmed by the Teen Titans, which I think is cool.
The Rot.
I love the fact he chops the head off of Rot, Kid Flash.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. I'm all for him trashing the Teen Titans before he's
the
done.
Teen Titans not coming back.
That's right. That's right. Kill them Teen Titans.
And it's interesting that, we've got Dead Man. I'm not sure how Dead
Why-
Man is in the green. but-
Yeah, why is he with the green and not with the red? You'd think he'd be with the red because the red are holding the last humans that he could possess or whatever.
Right. But I guess it's good that we have him, because if we didn't have him, she would have, Ivy would have killed Alec Holland because she doesn't believe it's really him.
Well, right, but that could have been any character.
Sure.
That could have been any character. So I think it's just weird that they chose to put some of the people where they put them at. I mean, how come Black Orchid isn't here?
Yeah, she always struck me as more plant-like, but I don't know anything about her, so.
When Neil Gaiman wrote her, she was plant-like for sure.
Yes, I know. And it's not that I mind seeing Dead Man. I like Dead Man, so.
I like their
It makes
little
perfect sense for Ivy to be there, and the parliament,
yeah.
the trees.
way up above and whatnot. I like that. That part's all cool and stuff.
I feel very sorry for Buddy Baker and Alec Holland, because they, they're just thrust into something that is horrible, and they're both being blamed for it when
Yeah.
they weren't gone that long in their minds.
Well, I feel more sorry for Buddy than I do for Alec.
Well,
Alec took
his
this all
daughter,
on.
his family.
Alec took this stuff on and decided he was going to do it. Whereas I don't think
Yeah,
Buddy
he
Baker
had
was,
it thrust
Buddy Baker was
upon
never
him
really given the choice in the
Because
matter.
one day his
Yeah.
4-year-old daughter was making animals out of,
Yeah.
pets out of dead animals that she reanimated.
Yeah.
Also with that book, I think it's interesting when, Swamp Thing sprouts wings, and he says, that's new.
Yeah, that's new. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that he is made stronger by the proximity to the Parliament of the Trees, and the fact that even though there's so little left, I'm hoping that somehow it's more concentrated and he's, I don't know, able to defeat the Teen Titans in the next issue. Actually, the next issue is the annual, so then we'll have to.
Yeah, well, I think the annual's extra. I think there'll still be another
Both at
issue,
once.
and then
Okay.
the annual also. Yeah.
Good, because I love how also they say, in 4 weeks. So when they say in 4 weeks, it's only a month, but when they say 4 weeks, it seems a lot longer. So anyway, I give Swamp Thing 3.5.
I'll give it 4. I enjoyed it. I think it's cool.
I
like I said, I'm looking
love
forward to.
Swamp Thing, and I love Animal Man. I was looking forward to reading number 13s of both of them,
Uh-huh.
and now I'm looking forward to reading number 14s of both of them, because I just really.
You're looking
I want-
forward to getting past this because yuck!
I just want to see the rot go down. I mean, not completely, because you have to have the rot, but I just.
Well, like I said, I'm just real curious to see what kind of hat trick they pull to get out of this.
Yes.
I mean, if this is the now, of course it's a year, but it's the now. It's what there is. How do they fix it? A year has gone by. How do they fix it? And how do they either go back to their time, or is Animal Man and Swamp Thing always going to be set a year in advance of everything else, or has the whole story we read up to this point been a year behind the rest of the timeline? I mean, I know continuity doesn't have to be exactly perfect. I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me if it is or not. But, they're telling us that this is the DC universe at some point. How does that work? I mean, that's, I guess, what I want to know. So, yeah, no.
No, I'm listening to you and I agree with you. It's just I was hearing some other disembodied voices throughout the house.
Okay, so last we're going to talk about Marvel Now's first book, Uncanny Adventures. And I happen to have the Hastings variant cover of them trick-or-treating. Or as Captain Cummings likes to say, where Captain America hands out poison candy to the X-Men.
Oh dear.
Yeah, okay. Let's start with my issues with the comic. Or
And
do you want
all
to
of
start?
your issues are my issues.
Okay, so it's a number one.
What the heck is going on? I recognize about a third of the people,
Uh-huh.
and
You recognize those the X-Men and,
Yeah.
and Captain America and Thor, right?
okay, and not Captain America, Professor X has been killed by Cyclops,
Mm-hmm.
and then but at the beginning they've got the guy and they're putting that thing in his brain, and he's turns into is he the guy with the helmet?
Avalanche?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
If I had never ever read anything about the Avengers,
Right, if you're just going to
X-Men,
jump on, oh, hey, new
opening it
comics,
up
I'm
to
jumping
some
on.
Weird brain thing would
Oh.
not,
That part wouldn't bother me.
but it wouldn't make sense.
Oh,
You know.
it didn't. I had to go back and read it again because by the time I read the very first page where it has them, doing the weird lobotomy kind of thing, and then read through the comic, and at the end it's like he's holding the brain up, right? And I'm going, are those
Yeah.
the same brains?
But they're not, right?
Well, no, they're not.
Okay.
They're not, because then I thought back, oh yeah, I guess Avalanche did have this weird scar
And he
around
had
his
the
head.
stitches. So
Well,
he had the brain surgery.
I didn't tie the two together to start out with.
Yeah, the whole thing is a mess in my opinion.
Well, okay, now,
Maybe if we'd read,
see, I know what's going on from
It
watching all the
makes
other
sense.
reviews, so
Right.
I know what's going on, so it's not confusing from that standpoint. But if I look at it from, this is a number one comic, where the reason for doing a number one is to get new readers to jump on because it's a number one. You're a new reader of it. Ethan is a new reader of it. And you guys had a ton of questions because you don't know what happened in
yeah, I mean, I
A versus
recognized
X.
Rogue, and
Yes, you recognize some
I
of the
thought it was
characters.
interesting that Logan seemed to be, kind of rededicating himself to Professor X's purpose.
Yeah, he has been though. That's not something that's
No, I know, but I thought he was very well mannered and well spoken for Logan.
well, it's because it's Chuck's funeral, so
Yeah. But I don't know why Red Witch is now,
Scarlet.
Scarlet Witch, sorry. I don't, remember, I didn't even
I
know
know.
who she was until
That's
I
cool.
saw a picture of her at a comic convention. So, anyway, I don't know why Rogue is, wanting to grow off the premises. I don't know who these other people who are showing up at the end to, I don't know who they are. So,
Nobody knows who they are.
the whole thing is confusing.
Uh-huh.
And I know that in the current X-Men that we're reading, Cyclops and Storm are having some sort of problem, but Cyclops is striking me as being a separationist and not necessarily someone who's going to end up killing Professor X. So yeah, I find that I did not like it. And it was very confusing, and I don't get confused easily either, I don't think. So, unless I read a whole bunch of comic books all together at one time. Which I did do in this case. But still.
No, it had lots of problems as far as that. I didn't think it was a bad story. If you already knew what was going on, it was actually
If you had
either-
read A versus X all the way to the ending. I'm sorry I interrupted you. It would be fine maybe. Sorry, I'm quiet now.
But yeah, I mean, if you knew what went on at the last story, it's not a bad story. My issue comes to the fact that these are number ones. That it should be a place where anybody who doesn't know what's going on should be able to get on board and read the comic. There are other parts of it that I thought was silly. Why would the bad guys come and take Xavier's brain while there's people staying around? Why wouldn't they wait for those two to beat each other up or whatever's going to happen and leave, and then they could go and take Xavier's brain? My next question is don't usually when people are buried, don't they like do things to the body?
Yeah, if he was embalmed, they would have removed his brain.
Well, even they, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's both
okay,
exciting.
even if they didn't remove his brain, I mean,
It's
it's
both-
not Egypt, so I guess they might have
Right.
left it there. But even if it would not have been viable.
Well, it depends what they need it for. We have no idea. That's just that we don't know what
Yeah.
they're using it for.
Okay.
But yeah, I have two minds. I thought the thing with okay, now I don't read Thor. I don't read Thor hardly at all. I've read a few comics of Thor in it. But the whole, hey, let's go to coffee, and him going, yes. And they got these word bubbles that make him sound all boomy like a voice of a god. Oh. And then he like sheepishly seeming, because it's not in the big booming voice, his little.
He's talking about the also have
I
lattes.
like lattes.
As I do. Yes.
I like lattes.
And yeah.
Is that supposed to be kind of throwing in some of the humor of like from the movie or something?
Possibly.
I don't know. I won't be picking up the next issue of it. And originally this was a title I thought maybe I would jump on board with. Like I said, it didn't confuse me because I know what's happened in the Avengers vs. X-Men, even though I didn't read it. I know what happened there. I know the whole house thing. So I know why Rogue and Scarlet Witch do not like each other and all that. But for if this is Marvel's version of let's get as many new readers on board as we can, like what DC did. And we know that's why they're doing the Marvel now, why it's their knee-jerk reaction. Whether they say it is or not, that's what they know. They put all those number ones, they're going to sell, and that's what it is. That no one's going to pick up a number 2 if you weren't already a reader of this damn thing, because you don't know what the hell's going on.
I give this book a 2.5 because some of the characters that I like, that I like and that I know, I like some of their dialogue.
Yeah.
But as a jumping on book, I give it, a 0. Yeah.
As a jumping on book, definitely. As a new book for new readers, yeah, it gets a 0, in my opinion.
There's some X-Men that I like, and we're not seeing them because we're watching them hang out with Storm.
But
in the X-Men that we're reading.
Right.
And I like Rogue, and I like some of those.
But this isn't an X-Men book. I mean, they make it very clear.
I understand.
Captain America makes it very clear, look, we need to start a different kind of Avengers book. A different kind of Avengers. We need to have an Avengers that takes mutants into consideration and takes their things into consideration. Because I screwed up. One of the things I did learn out of this whole thing out of the whole Avengers vs. X thing is that I screwed up. I never looked out for everybody, and I should be looking out for everybody. And so we're going to make amends by this different team, and they want Havoc to be in charge.
I understand all of that. Well, not really, but what I'm trying to say is that because in the late 80s I read X-Men with you.
Yep. Chris Claremont X-Men.
It was, yes, very good X-Men, very enjoyable. It was nice to see some of those people again that I hadn't seen for a while.
Sure.
Because we're not.
Right, we don't read that stuff.
That's all that I meant by that.
Yeah, we don't read the 20 Avengers books and the 13 X-Men books that are out there, yeah.
No, because we're too busy reading the, 8 million Bat books. Because they're good.
Because Batman always wins.
Yeah, but Bruce Wayne doesn't. Dang it.
Whatever. So that's it, huh?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, well, thank you very much if you sat through this, and I will hopefully catch you later on in the week when I'm feeling a little better, and maybe we've reanimated Ethan. We don't know. Anyway, bye.